start again. It's a rage thing.
Hey YouTube, how goes it? A lot of you have asked me to review the Logitech G815 keyboard, and I am here to deliver. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we move on, just a friendly reminder to please consider subscribing to my channel and helping me grow so I can provide more future quality content just like this video. Now the G815 is essentially a low profile mechanical keyboard. Also, it's very slim, coming at just 22 millimeters of height. It also has a linear design, which means it's symmetrical across all angles. Furthermore, it's a pretty heavy keyboard, weighing just over 2.5 pounds. But that's a good thing, because that weight really gives it a nice premium feel. Now let's talk materials. The G815 is a two-tone material design. Essentially, the top body is ionized aluminum, which has a very nice premium and sleek feel to it. No matter which angle you look at the keyboard from, it shines, and that's a great thing. Now I'm guessing Logitech had budget cuts by the time they got to the bottom of the keyboard, and the bottom half is made of hard plastic, but that's not necessarily a bad thing since you won't be looking at the bottom half of the keyboard anyway. Moving on, you'll also notice that the keyboard comes with a USB-A port pass-through. This is great, so you can attach an additional accessory to it. It is worth noting that the G915 wireless version does not actually have a USB-A pass-through port, probably because it would put extensive drain on the battery life. Furthermore, it has a braided cable to connect. So basically, the Logitech G815 keyboard comes with a fully braided USB cable. This is great for wear and tear, and it also prevents electrical interference. Now, the G815 offers a wheel-based volume rocker. This is super smooth and super easy to use. I personally use it all the time, and I'm glad they went with this particular style. Also, you have a bunch of other keys that are included on the keyboard, the macro keys and the media control keys, for instance. These particular keys are actually made of a hard rubber-like texture, and they are nice to press on. Lastly, on the bottom of the keyboard, there are two hinges on either side. These allow you to adjust the height, and it's a two-tier height system, so you can adjust it with a small RAM or a larger RAM, depending on your personal preference. Let's talk about the most important element of a keyboard, the actual keys themselves. Now, the Logitech G815 essentially comes with Logitech's in-house built custom GL key switches. They come in three unique configurations: GL clicky, linear, and tactile. Clicky is essentially the loudest of them and also has the most pushback. Linear, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It essentially is very quiet and has very little pushback. Tactile is somewhere in between. It is somewhat noisy and it has a decent amount of pushback. Now, I personally prefer using Logitech's clicky version, which is the one I have right here. However, with that being said, some people may not like it because of its loud audible noise, as well as the fact that it has heavy pushback. For example, pro gamers may prefer using the linear version because of its reduced pushback, which means faster key presses. Also, if you're in an office environment, you may not want to have a super loud keyboard, but you still want the pushback. In that case, the tactile version might be the best for you. It doesn't produce as much noise as the clicky, but it has roughly the same amount of pushback. For context, here's a quick demo of what the clicky version sounds like. Now, Logitech opted to go for a low-profile keyboard as opposed to a traditional mechanical full-stroke keyboard. However, that's not a bad thing because you still get 1.5 millimeter travel distance out of such a slim body, and that really does says a lot about the engineering that went into this keyboard. For comparison, the Logitech G515 Carbon has a 1.9 millimeter travel distance, but you would be hard-pressed to find the difference between the two in a blind test comparison. Now, with that being said, if you do prefer a traditional full-stroke keyboard that has over 2 millimeters of travel distance, then I think this keyboard is not right for you because you will feel the lack of travel space between keys. Now let's talk lighting. Now, RGB is not new to Logitech keyboards, and they're certainly not the first company to make it happen. With that being said, the RGB lighting on the G815 and 915 is very impressive. It has over 16.8 million color combinations, which is quite a handful, mind you. Also, it's very well lit and fairly accurate. I like how it has a 3-tier adjustable brightness setting, which you can control directly from the keyboard or from their built-in software. Furthermore, another thing I really like about the Logitech keyboards is that the G sign is actually synced with the rest of the keyboard, so it'll color sync or whatever RGB lighting is going on. One thing I did not like, however, is the fact that the Alt function keys are not lit at all. In fact, if you look at the $ keys or the percentage keys, they're just consistently gray. And that font isn't the best choice either because it's very hard to see in low light conditions. I don't know why a premium keyboard doesn't have backlit functionality on that, but it's something to note. A wise person once said, behind every successful hardware is good software. Well, maybe not exactly like that, but you get the point. Anyway, the G Hub is Logitech's comprehensive control suite. It allows you to control all of the keyboard settings that the keyboard has to offer. It also controls the lighting aspects and the different modes the keyboard has to offer. For example, you can use the G Suite to actually control the lighting RGB modes that you have on the keyboard. There's different modes like breathing, cycle, fire, data drop, etc, etc. There's actually lots of modes. It's pretty cool. Another cool thing is that the Logitech G Hub software actually has a dedicated game mode. Essentially what this means is depending on the game you're playing, you can bind certain keys and you can disable others to provide an optimal gaming experience and also to prevent accidental presses. Furthermore, it's worth noting that you can actually store up to 3 of those modes directly onto the keyboard's built-in memory, which means if you don't have the G Hub software installed, the keyboard will remember up to 3 unique modes. And of course, you can store countless more on the G Hub software directly as long as it's installed on your computer. Another really cool feature from an aesthetics perspective is the fact that G Hub products can actually color sync with one another. What this basically means, for example, is my G815 keyboard can actually RGB sync with my G502 wireless mouse. This is really cool because now whatever effects I have going on my keyboard are reflected in real time on my mouse as well, and it provides a nice look aesthetically speaking. So let's draw a conclusion. All in all, I think the G815 and 915 are fantastic products. They are probably one of the best low profile mechanical keyboards your money can buy right now. That's because of their excellent keystrokes and also their premium build quality. Furthermore, the G815 and 915 also offer comparable switches to the Cherry MX series with their own GL series keys, which comes in 3 unique but important configurations. The G Hub is a great deep customization keyboard management software. I definitely think it's one of the better softwares out there in terms of keyboard management. Also, I appreciate how Logitech has given us a wired and wireless version of this particular keyboard. It's good to see that they're catering to all kinds of fans. Now, on the not so good side, I don't think the G815 or 915 are that competitively priced. There are other products with similar features that are slightly cheaper, like Razer's Black Widow Elite series, which starts at $200. Also, it's worth noting that I find it very disappointing how Logitech has decided not to light up the Alt function keys. I think it's important to be able to see the $ or the percentage sign lit up, and I think that is definitely a -1 from my side, but it may not affect everyone in equal ways depending on what you're doing. With that being said, I think overall the G815 and 915 are excellent products. I would recommend them to anyone who has a high budget and is looking for the best low profile mechanical keyboard you can buy. As always guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so, and dropping a like for this video. It helps me grow and provide more quality content for you guys. Until next time, Soul of Tech logging out.